We as movie watchers are exposed to death on a pretty regular basis. Everything from the biggest Hollywood blockbusters all the way down to the lowest budget crappy horror films seem to contain any number of characters' tragic or deserving deaths.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
I really couldn't think of a better example if I tried. Even in our documentaries about the most notorious, horrific serial killers, they often avoid discussing the morbid details of death in a realistic and true way. They almost tiptoe around the fact that this was a real event involving real victims to glamorize the serial killer. Now, I'm not knocking any serial killer documentaries, don't get me wrong, that's not the point of this video. Naturally though, that's why I think some people are drawn towards more gritty and disturbing films and documentaries. They can show a more down-to-earth side of death rarely seen in mainstream cinema. Now, again, this isn't me knocking any Hollywood or indie films that are just trying to tell a story. This is just a segue into me introducing you to probably the most disturbing documentary that I've ever seen. I'm Nightmare Movies, and today I want to talk about a film called Orozco The Embalmer. Made back in 2001, this film follows the titular Orozco at his job, being an embalmer in El Cartucho, an extremely dangerous part of Bogota, Colombia. A deceptively simple plot, I suppose, but I don't think I've ever seen a more honest film about death. Kind of an obvious point, I know. I mean, this movie's literally about dead people. But this movie holds nothing back in any way. There is no censoring, no glamorous tricks used to hide what this job and this place are really like. We get an unapologetic, unscripted view into the life of a man who deals in the business of death on a daily basis. Orozco himself is quite an interesting person, to say the least. To be honest, he's seemingly indifferent to the people and the corpses around him that he works with, doing this labor-intensive and often very depressing job for very little pay, around $50 a body to put that into perspective. He's done this work for years and done work on over 50,000 bodies presumably, according to the opening credits. And with all that being said, I still just get a very selfless feeling from Orozco, even though his handling of bodies sometimes can be questionable at best. But still, looking at the horrible working conditions and place that he lives, I kinda don't blame him for the way he acts. Like I said earlier though, this movie doesn't hold anything back, and Orozco has one of the darkest senses of humor I think I've ever seen. To be honest, I love this guy. I mean, if your job was literally to work in one of the most dangerous cities in the world as an embalmer for years and years, wouldn't you develop just an insanely messed up sense of humor too? And that's another reason why I love this film. Even with its graphic material, it doesn't sugarcoat anything, and it's highly praised for that reason. And I think rightfully so, considering the subject matter of this documentary. It's so honest in its portrayal of this man and the world he lives in, you can't help but appreciate it. Or at the very least, your morbid curiosity takes over and you can't really take your eyes away from it. Regardless, there's no glamorization, nothing to hide the truth behind. And that's what I can really recommend about this movie if you can stomach the very graphic content. While this is a film I have a very hard time watching, I can't help but respect it for even existing. I'm really not into documentaries all that much because I feel like it's so dramatized a lot of the time. And I don't think that's what documentaries should be. They should show reality as objectively as they can, or at least try to, even if it's a very opinionated documentary. Tell a story, sure, but don't glamorize something tragic in order to tell that story. And even though this isn't the most award-winning, amazing documentary ever shot, in fact, a lot of the time it looks really crappy, I can at least say this film was trying to be as objective as possible with its subject matter. If you're interested in this movie, I have to give a few warnings though before I can recommend it. As stated throughout this entire video, this movie contains real corpses, real dead bodies, and Orozco performs these operations on a very wide range of ages. So yes, they do show the corpses of very young people in this film. This film is also completely uncensored and doesn't edit around any of the graphic parts of this kind of work. I personally had a hard time watching this film, so I thought I should give a fair warning in advance if you want to watch this documentary. This film is also very low quality in terms of visuals and audio, and I personally found the film a little dull at times, so just be warned about that. It can be a little slow. And again, I don't think this is a documentary for everyone, but if it sounds interesting to you, go check it out. With all that being said, once again, I'm Nightmare Movies, and I'll see you guys next time.